Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are doing well. Today is August 21st, and it is Thursday. Just had like my last, or I guess my first week of college classes all over. It's been definitely interesting, big change, but a few of my professors seem cool, so I'm excited. I just bought all of my books, so can't drop the classes now, but hopefully it will be fun. With that being said, hopefully all you guys are doing great. It's been an interesting day in the news world, so let's get into it. Before we start, I wanted to highlight something today. We do this every once in a while, but I felt like this was big because I had to submit an image of my ID in order to view my account on YouTube, essentially, at least on my phone. YouTube has officially started requesting people's ID in order to use the platform. I myself have already been impacted. I was checking the analytics on my YouTube channel earlier today, and it wouldn't let me do anything on the YouTube app, or the mobile app at least, unless I submitted my ID card. Did I cave? Yes, I'm going to be honest. I had to. I'm not going to prevent myself from posting content. I have the right to free speech. I'm going to use it. But it's really stupid that I have to use my ID. Genuinely, like, what is the point of platforms like YouTube Kids if I have to verify myself on the main platform? Like, it is genuinely useless and so stupid. They're using it under the guise of protecting people or protecting children, but like that should be on the parents. It should not be on the platform, and it should not be on the internet to teach children. It should be the parent, genuinely. Anyways, moving on to our Trump administration segment after that little rant. Trump has sent U.S. warships to Venezuela. The Trump administration is deploying three Aegis guided missile destroyers to the waters off of Venezuela's coast as part of efforts to combat drug cartels. The USS Gravely, the USS Jason Dunham, and the USS Samson are to depart for the region over the coming days. This also comes as Trump is continuously pressuring Mexico to allow U.S. troops in their borders to clear out cartels. This is insane, and just like the Mexico situation, possibly could launch us into a war. This is dumb. As most people know, we aren't very successful when we go into other countries to take out these quote unquote terrorist groups. It's not our business in the first place, and for one, and for two, U.S. citizens bring in a majority of these drugs into our country. Outside of that, like, this is an attack on the sovereignty of these Central and South American nations. And let's not forget why so many of these countries are struggling: because of U.S. oppression trying to get resources. I mean, think about the fruit companies. Think about so many companies who have infested these countries. Think about all of the things that we have done to these countries that have led to them being where they are. Like, we are the bad guys here. People just refuse to wake up to the propaganda and read a history book, which needs to change. Like, please, if you do not know these things, go and do some reading. There are so many books out there, so many documentaries out there, so many things that will teach you about what's going on in the world or what the United States has done. In other news, Trump has threatened Colorado if they don't release one of his supporters from prison. Trump has threatened the state of Colorado with harsh measures if they don't free Tina Peters, a state election official with multiple felonies after breaching voter equipment in 2020. In his post on True Social, he wrote, "Free Tina Peters, brave and innocent patriot who has been tortured by the crooked Colorado politicians, including the mail-in ballot supporting the governor of the state. Let Tina Peters out of jail right now. She did nothing wrong except catching Democrats cheat in the election. She is an old woman and very sick. If she is not released, I am going to take harsh measures." Keep in mind, she was the one that was trying to cheat when she tampered with voting machines, not the Democratic Party. I'm not even like shocked by this at this point. People like this should be in prison for life. I mean, we should not have people trying to go into elections and, take it and force people to, or not force people, but like change the votes. That, like, anyone who tries to do that should be in jail for life. Elections should be free and fair for everyone. And the fact that we are going through a stage in this country where that isn't the case is bullshit. It genuinely is. In other news, a appellate court has dropped a civil fraud judgment case against Donald Trump and his companies. An appeals court has dropped a $500 million civil fraud judgment case against Trump and his business. The court did decline to overturn the case, leaving it open to open to seek appeal in New York's highest court. Eric Trump, who currently runs the family business, called this the biggest victory in the world and called today a big day. This isn't shocking. Hopefully we can see a change to it, but honestly, I doubt that. Trump is going to be handed cases like this again and again and again and again and again. We've already seen that within this administration already, and it's just going to continue, as unfortunate as that is. Trump has it not really in the bag, but, there are certain things Trump has been able to do because lawmakers side with him. And, this is one of those things that we see here. In other news, Trump is going to review 55 million people with visas in the United States for deportations. The Trump administration has announced it will be reviewing more than 55 million people who have valid visa status in the United States for any violations that could lead to deportation. The State Department has said that this could include tourists as well. If found anything, visas will be revoked and the holder will be deported immediately. The statement said, "We will review all available information as part of our vetting, including law enforcement or immigration records or any other information that comes to light after visa insurance indicating a potential ineligibility." The attack on immigrants and tourists and so many more by this administration is going to cause massive damages, not just to the United States, but to the economy, lifestyles, and cultures throughout the country. And I know you've all heard that time and time again, whether that be from me, whether that be from whatever other news source you have, but it's the truth. We would be nowhere in this country if it wasn't for immigration. And you could honestly argue that immigration is the most important thing about the United States. People come to the United States seeking the American dream, which, if you think about it, isn't for the American people. It's for the people who are coming here to have an opportunity. That's what the American dream is. People come to the United States for a chance to be successful, for a chance to better their life for themselves and their family. And that is no longer the case today. They come here and they contribute, and this administration throws them to the ground and treats them like dirt. It is disgusting, and it needs to change absolutely immediately. It should have changed yesterday. Anyways, moving into our Washington, D.C. segment, we have one topic today as Trump is going to patrol D.C. with the National Guard tonight. Trump has announced that he will be joining the police and military in D.C. to oversee the response to his crime emergency. Trump said on a radio show, "I'm going out tonight, I think, with the police and with the military, of course, so we are going to do a job. The National Guard is great. They've done a fantastic job." Free Washington, D.C. This is interesting for sure, but it's likely just going to be a PR stunt for MAGA. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw images of Trump in military gear or, maybe even holding a rifle. Honestly, that's my prediction. The White House's new TikTok needs some more, B-roll, I guess. Moving on into our segment about Democrats in Texas. Texas has green-lighted redistricting. Texas legislators have approved the new congressional maps that would favor Republicans in next year's midterms. Texas House Republicans won the 88-52 vote, creating 5 new seats for the party. The map is expected to be approved by the state Senate and then signed off by the state's governor. This is likely going to be a domino effect at this point. California is already making moves and are just waiting for, a special vote for, the actual people in the state rather than, I don't think Texas is doing that. I think they're just forcing that in. But I don't want to say this, situation is a civil war, but I honestly feel like the best way to describe what we're witnessing right now is a cold civil war. We are watching these blue states fight to preserve free and fair elections, while red states in the administration are backing to abolish that, which isn't okay. If the founding fathers or anyone who contributed to starting what the United States is today saw the situation that we were in currently, they would be disappointed, genuinely. especially as someone who has learned so much about US history, who has spent hours and hours and hours just learning and reading books about history. It is disappointing to see what is happening today, and it is disappointing to see where we have ended up as a country, especially after all the progress we've made. And I guarantee you that prominent leaders throughout the United States history, if they saw what was happening today, they would be disappointed as well. Moving on into our other news segments today, the first topic we have is California has greenlit its redistricting, the next domino, if you will. California legislature has advanced a series of 3 bills to redraw the congressional boundaries and create 5 Democratic House seats to nullify Texas. The Election Rigging Response Act will be voted on in a special election by constituents this fall. Democratic state lawmakers gave a huge applause when this was approved by an assembly, and it was passed by the state Senate afterwards. Gavin Newsom said on the floor before the vote, "We will not let our political system be hijacked by authoritarianism." I don't know why I can't. Authoritarianism. I can't say that for some reason. And today we will give every Californian the power to say no to Donald Trump's power grab, and to say yes to our people, to our state, and to our democracy. As much as it sucks and, as stupid as this redistricting is, we got to combat it. We can't just let the Trump administration and these other states do and dominate as they please. The fact is, if we lose all of these seats, there's not going to be an election. Maybe in some areas, but it's not going to contribute. We need to do something here. There will be no stopping Donald Trump and his administration if we don't redistrict. And as shitty as that is, genuinely, I've said it, since the situation have started. You guys know that I am not a fan of this redistricting. As shitty as it is, something needs to be done to prevent more damage from being caused. Trump told us, vote for me and you'll never have to vote again. People took that as a joke when it's the truth, and people should be more worried about that. In other news, a California resident has tested positive for the plague. A resident in South Lake Tahoe, California, has tested positive for the plague. The statement was released by health officials in El Dorado County, and the individual is recovering at home under care by a medical professional. Officials believe that the individual may have been bitten by a flea while camping. The statement reads, "Plague is naturally present in many parts of California, including higher elevation areas of El Dorado County. It is important that individuals take precautions for themselves and their pets when outdoors, especially while walking, hiking, and or camping in areas where wild rodents are present." This is not what I expected to read at all today. However, hopefully whoever was, gotten sick, whoever got the plague, I don't know how to phrase that. Whoever got sick in this, is able to recover. The medical professionals kind of made this seem like it was not really a common, but a slightly common experience or occurrence, if you get what I mean. Which is kind of crazy to say since it is the plague. But I am positive at this point that we have made enough medical advancements in the world to fix that. Granted, the current administration doesn't help that, but I'm sure there have been enough advancements at this point. Moving on into our final topic for the evening, Russia has struck American businesses in Ukraine. Russia has struck a U.S.-owned Flex electronics factory in Ukraine, injuring 6 employees. Flex Ltd., a Singaporean-American manufacturing company, was founded in the Silicon Valley in 1969 and was one of the first U.S. service manufacturers offshore. Andy Hunter, president of the America's Chamber of Commerce in Ukraine, said Russia's strike on Ukraine since the war started has damaged around 600 member businesses within the country. I really do hope Trump gets asked about this, because I want to know what he would say or what he would think about this. Since he's so close with Putin, he probably wouldn't care, because he tends to not care less with most things. But I really am interested in what Trump would say about this. Genuinely, I want to know. With that being said, though, thank you all so much for watching today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. It's been an interesting one, as we've seen. But if you're new here, please subscribe on YouTube. We're on our way to 500 subscribers, and I would really appreciate it if you could help me get here, or get there. Outside of that, if you're on Substack, please consider subscribing. All funds go to me. They'll help me pay for the things that I'll need to pay for in college, like food, clothing, all those kinds of things. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. I truly do appreciate all forms of support on this content. It means the world to me. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you all in tomorrow's episode. Later.